we're going to look at the hamstrings on the posterior thigh. The reason these are called the hamstrings is back in the day, the ham, gluteus maximus, would be strung up by these muscles to cure in the barn, hence the name hamstrings. I'm going to remove gluteus maximus so we can take a closer look at these. The common origin of our hamstrings is going to be the ischial tuberosity. So we have 2 hamstrings on the medial side, 2 on the lateral side, and 1 that is deep. On the medial side, we have 1 hamstring here with a very long tendon. In fact, it's half tendon. Its name means the muscle that is half tendon, semitendinosus. If we look deep to that, we have a muscle here which is half membrane. The name for that one is semimembranosus. The model does not do the true body justice. This will become very clear when you see it on the cadaver. But for the purposes of looking at the model, the very long tendon which inserts into pes anserinus is semitendinosus, and on either side of it would be semimembranosus. On the lateral side, we see a 2-headed muscle. The name for a 2-headed muscle is biceps. It's over the femur, so we call it biceps femoris. We notice biceps femoris has a long head and a short head. Here's the short head. So we're going to call the long head biceps femoris long head, and the short head biceps femoris short head. I love the names of the hamstrings because they are exact. They tell you everything you need to know. Okay? So these 4 muscles that I've just mentioned, semitendinosus, semimembranosus, biceps femoris long head, and biceps femoris short head, are 4 of the hamstrings. The last hamstring, if we look deep, is the hamstring portion of our adductor magnus. Remember, we saw adductor magnus in the medial thigh as well. So adductor magnus is such a large muscle that it has 2 origins, 2 insertions, 2 actions, and 2 innervations. Right now we're looking only at the hamstring portion. Okay? So one way we can easily identify this one is, you notice how it splits down here. The split is called the Abductor Hiatus, and you can always recognize this by the Abductor Hiatus. The hamstring portion originates on the ischial tuberosity, and it inserts into the linea aspera. And then if we put our semitendinosus and semimembranosus back, these both originate on the ischial tuberosity and go down. Semitendinosus inserts into pes anserinus. We put our hamstrings back. Our biceps femoris long head originates on the ischial tuberosity, but we'll notice the short head does not originate on the ischial tuberosity. Okay, sounds like we have mice in the lab. Let's keep going. Okay, so when we're looking at the actions, remember, if we cross a joint, we can have an action on the joint. Our common origin is the ischial tuberosity. Because we cross the hip joint, that allows us to extend the hip. All of our hamstrings are going to extend the hip, except for biceps femoris short head, because it does not originate on the ischial tuberosity. And then down on the bottom, because we cross the knee joint, semitendinosus and semimembranosus, biceps femoris long head and short head, we cross the knee joints. Semitendinosus crosses at the knee joint on the medial side, inserting into pes anserinus. Biceps femoris long and short head insert on the head of the fibula on the lateral side. But because we cross the knee joint, we are going to flex the knee. The exception was our Abductor Magnus. Abductor Magnus does not cross the knee joint, because remember, it inserts onto the adductor tubercle and linea aspera of the femur, so it does not have an action on the knee. Also, while we're in this region, let's talk about innervation. Do you remember this nerve coming down was sciatic? Sciatic is going to divide into the tibial and the common fibular. We can see the common fibular laying on top of biceps femoris shorthead. Biceps femoris shorthead is the only muscle that is innervated by common fibular. The rest of the muscles in the hamstring region are innervated by the tibial nerve. Also, we're going to see two structures coming through the Abductor Hiatus. We have an artery coming out and a vein going in. Because we're in a flattened region in the back here, this region is called the Popliteal Fossa. This is going to be called the Popliteal Artery and the Popliteal Vein. The Popliteal Artery is a continuation of the femoral artery, and the Popliteal Vein is going to go in the opposite direction and dump into the femoral vein. So I think that is that's all we needed for our posterior thigh. Remember, our common innervation is tibial nerve, with the exception being biceps femoris shorthead is common fibular. The general rule is flexion of the hip, with the exception being biceps femoris because it does not cross the hip joint. And the other common action is flexion of the knee, the exception being Abductor Magnus because it does not cross the knee joint. And I believe I said flexion of the hip, but I meant extension of the hip. We extend the hip and flex the knee in the posterior compartment.